The atmosphere was charged from the very beginning when Melania and Trump made a rare live TV appearance on a political roundtable discussion hosted by a major network. It was marketed as a balanced conversation on immigration, privilege, and the American dream. But it quickly turned into one of the most unforgettable confrontations in recent television history. Jasmine Crockett, known for her razor-sharp mind and unapologetic tone, was also invited to the panel. As the discussion kicked off, Melania began by sharing her personal story of emigrating from Slovenia, emphasizing her legal journey and determination. She described herself as a symbol of lawful immigration and discipline. Jasmine listened attentively, but didn't seem impressed. As Melania wrapped up her monologue with a statement about respecting American laws, Jasmine leaned forward and raised her eyebrows, signaling she had something to say that would turn the conversation upside down. "Respecting the law?" Jasmine asked, her voice calm but firm. "That's interesting, considering the allegations and whispers that have followed your modeling visa and the inconsistencies in your immigration history." The studio went silent. Melania blinked, visibly unsettled. "I came here legally," she responded with a tight smile. Jasmine didn't flinch. "Yes, you did come, but some reports suggest your visa type didn't allow certain kinds of paid work at the time. Yet there's documented evidence of modeling gigs during that exact period." Melania shook her head in protest, calling it a smear campaign. But Jasmine was relentless. "It's not a smear when it's supported by documents from your own past," she stated. The other panelists froze, unsure how to mediate. The host awkwardly tried to steer the discussion back, but Jasmine wasn't done. "We can't talk about law-abiding immigrants without acknowledging that wealth and whiteness often erase scrutiny. If this were any other woman of color, her visa would have been revoked in a heartbeat." Melania's composure began to crack as she clutched the armrest of her chair. "You're making assumptions based on politics," she said defensively. Jasmine replied sharply, "I'm making conclusions based on records. This isn't personal, it's about fairness." The live audience, clearly divided, gasped and whispered. Social media exploded instantly as clips began circulating in real time, with hashtags like Melania Exposed and Crockett Truth trending within minutes. Melania tried to regain control of the narrative, insisting she had been unfairly targeted her entire public life. But Jasmine countered that being in the spotlight came with accountability. "You can't live in a glass house and throw stones at others who are simply trying to survive," she said. Melania turned to the host, asking for a chance to explain, but Jasmine interjected again. "You've had decades to explain. Now it's time to answer." The segment was intended to move into broader topics, but the host was clearly losing control. Melania, now visibly flustered, tried to pivot by speaking about her Be Best campaign. "I've worked for children's welfare and kindness," she said. Jasmine nodded slowly. "Yes, a campaign about bullying launched while standing next to one of the most notorious bullies in modern politics." The irony isn't lost on any of us. The audience gasped again. Melania's face flushed. "My husband's actions are not mine," she retorted. "But your silence was," Jasmine fired back. "You stood by while families were torn apart at the border and never once challenged it. That's complicity." Melania now looked at the host, clearly searching for support, but no help came. The cameras captured every flicker of emotion on her face. Shock, anger, frustration. This was not going the way she had planned. Social media was ablaze with opinions as users dissected every word of the confrontation. Commentators across the political spectrum weighed in. Some praised Jasmine for being bold enough to speak truth to power. Others accused her of ambushing Melania and disrespecting a former First Lady. Meanwhile, the show's producers were inundated with calls and emails, some demanding Jasmine be removed from future appearances, others insisting she be given her own segment. The network had inadvertently sparked a national conversation that reached beyond television. News outlets picked up the story within hours, and by evening, it was on every major platform. From CNN to Fox News, Melania's camp released a brief statement accusing Jasmine of defamatory insinuations, but offered no clarifying documents to refute the claims. Jasmine, meanwhile, stood by her words in a follow-up interview, stating, "If the truth hurts, maybe it's time we all stop pretending it doesn't exist." Backstage, tensions were reportedly high. Staff members described Melania as shaken and visibly upset, while Jasmine remained composed and unfazed. Security was called to ensure a smooth exit for both parties, though no incidents were reported. Insiders revealed that Melania had been given a briefing before the show about possible questions, but the producers had not anticipated the intensity of Jasmine's confrontation. One staffer admitted, "We knew there might be disagreement, but we didn't expect a takedown." Melania's team later accused the producers of setting her up, but the network denied the claim, citing editorial independence. Jasmine was offered several interviews afterward, and she used the platform to talk about accountability, privilege, and immigration. Double standards. In the days that followed, the media firestorm only intensified. Late-night hosts poked fun at the segment, and satirical shows recreated the moment with exaggerated flair. Memes of Melania's shocked face next to Jasmine's fierce expression went viral. Still, despite the mockery, many viewers appreciated the depth of the conversation and the way it forced difficult topics into the public eye. Jasmine was invited to speak at 2 major conferences, while conservative groups began calling for boycotts of the network. The contrast in responses was stark. It highlighted just how polarized public opinion had become and how one televised moment could divide a nation down ideological lines. Melania remained largely silent after the interview, canceling her next 2 scheduled appearances. Sources close to her revealed that she felt betrayed and humiliated, believing the show had promised a respectful conversation. Meanwhile, Jasmine continued her public commentary, emphasizing that the confrontation wasn't about Melania. Alone, it was about a system that favors certain people while punishing others. She said, "If you don't speak up, nothing changes. And if you're upset by the truth, then maybe you were part of the problem all along." That statement, like her performance on the show, garnered both applause and condemnation. The network eventually released a statement defending both women's rights to speak freely. "Our platform is a space for open and honest conversation," the statement read. What happened during the broadcast reflects the real tensions and passions of this moment in American life. Still, internal discussions were underway about how to handle future guests and ensure productive dialogue without spiraling into confrontation. Some insiders argued that tension drew ratings, while others felt the network needed to reset its approach before its reputation took a permanent hit. Regardless, the show saw its highest viewership in a year following the episode weeks later. The confrontation still echoed across media, academic forums, and political commentary. Some called it a turning point for how former first ladies are viewed in the post-presidency era. Others focused on Jasmine's emergence as a powerful media voice unafraid to challenge elite figures. Whether viewers agreed with her or not, no one denied her impact. As for Melania, she returned to the public eye more cautiously, choosing scripted interviews and appearances with limited questions. But the damage had been done. The image of Jasmine calling out privilege and the visible shock on Melania's face had become a symbol, a clash between silence and confrontation, between image and truth, between polished power and raw reality. As the dust began to settle, political analysts started dissecting the deeper implications of the confrontation. One notable political strategist remarked, "This wasn't just about visa violations or modeling contracts, it was a reckoning." Jasmine Crockett had struck a nerve, not only by questioning Melania's personal history, but by making it a metaphor for the broader inequality in America's legal and social systems. Critics of Jasmine claimed she personalized the issue too much, but her supporters argued that such directness is precisely what breaks through the wall of political politeness that often shields the powerful. Meanwhile, media outlets revisited archived reports from Melania's early modeling career. And certain immigration experts pointed out that while many questions remain unanswered, they were rarely investigated due to Melania's high-profile status. It became increasingly clear that the tension between the two women reflected a larger cultural clash between polished diplomacy and unapologetic truth-telling. By the end of the week, several legal experts chimed in to clarify the potential consequences if the claims against Melania were substantiated. Although most agreed that the statute of limitations had long passed, some noted that the very discussion could influence future immigration reform and how high-profile applicants are vetted. The more attention the story got, the more it exposed inconsistencies in how media platforms historically treated women of color versus privileged white immigrants. Jasmine's confrontation had also sparked a surge in civic engagement, especially among young women. Hashtags like Truth Over Titles and Immigration Justice began circulating widely. Student-led organizations began inviting Jasmine to speak about systemic hypocrisy in immigration enforcement. One professor even assigned the segment as a case study in a media ethics course. While Melania may have hoped the controversy would fade, the seeds of debate had already rooted deep in public discourse. Behind the scenes, rumors swirled about the long-term impact on Melania's brand. Several companies reportedly paused collaboration. Talks that were in development, unsure whether associating with her image would now come with too much controversy. On the flip side, Jasmine Crockett's public profile soared. She was featured in several national magazines and invited onto more panels, where she continued to articulate her views with clarity and conviction. In an interview with a major news outlet, she said, "We need to stop treating some people like they're above truth just because they married into power." Meanwhile, fact-checkers worked overtime, combing through Melania's past, and although definitive legal violations remained murky, the court of public opinion had already reached a verdict. The incident wasn't about proving guilt beyond doubt, it was about exposing the double standard in scrutiny and accountability. The confrontation even reached Capitol Hill. A few lawmakers referenced the segment during immigration hearings, pointing to it as a reminder that policy must be enforced equally. "We can't allow glamour or wealth to shield individuals from the same scrutiny faced by thousands of undocumented workers," one congresswoman stated. Meanwhile, conservative commentators called for Jasmine to apologize, accusing her of being disrespectful and divisive. Jasmine, however, doubled down, stating, "If discomfort is the price of honesty, then I'll keep making people uncomfortable." Her words became a rallying cry, and support poured in from activists and grassroots movements alike. The divide between those who viewed the confrontation as a personal attack and those who saw it as a moment of cultural clarity became more pronounced. With media outlets choosing sides, the ripple effects of the live moment, now extended far beyond a single episode, had become a movement. Months later, the moment still echoed in American politics and pop culture. Think pieces continued to debate its significance, and clips from the show remained among the most viewed political moments of the year. Jasmine Crockett had unintentionally reshaped public expectations of televised political debate. No longer were viewers satisfied with rehearsed talking points. They now wanted confrontation that revealed truth, not just civility that masked it. Melania Trump, while continuing her limited public appearances, never addressed the confrontation in full, instead releasing vague statements about being misrepresented. But the silence spoke volumes. In many ways, Jasmine's bold confrontation had changed the rules of engagement for public figures. In a society increasingly unwilling to excuse privilege, even the most polished exteriors could no longer shield the powerful from hard truths delivered live and unfiltered.